We will now be ready to host the next session, which is Artificial Intelligence in Financial Inclusion. So we are discussing Artificial Intelligence in Financial Inclusion. A warm welcome to the moderator, Mr. Ramesh Arunachalam, and a very warm welcome to all the panelists, starting with Mr. Vinesh Shah, Mr. Bhaskar Ramesh, Ms. Shruti Joshi, and Ms. Supriya Sharma. All of you a very warm welcome. So now hand it over to the moderator of this session.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So very briefly, I'll introduce myself, and then each of us will introduce each other, and then we'll begin. Is that okay? Right? We're still missing people, but hopefully they'll end up. Right? Yeah. I'm Ramesh Arunachalam. I have worked in this sector for about 36 years. Worked in the finance technology space for a long time. I work in the area of financial inclusion, financial sector, governance, risk management, do a lot of work on AI. Now, particularly the last 5 years, a lot on AI. I worked a lot on core banking systems, and I work in about 35 countries, and I worked in 800 districts in India. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vinesh. And, I've been working in the industry for the last 23 years. And right now, from Craft Silicon perspective, the company that I represent, we focus on the tech side of it. So we work with most of the banks, NBFCs, MFIs in the financial inclusion landscape. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bhaskar Ramesh. I lead the omni-channel businesses for Google India. This comprises of financial services, CPG, technology, auto, so all the traditional sectors, and been digitizing them in different capacities over the last decade. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shruti Joshi. I'm from Equifax. We are a credit bureau, and I head the insights function at Equifax, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today.
Hi everyone, my name is Supriya Sharma. I'm a partner and head of research and learning at IMA Ventures. I've been with them for over 8 years now and extensively work with inclusive fintechs building for Bharat.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let's give them a big, nice applause for all of them, please. I thought it would be spontaneous, but you made me say it. Right? Thank you. Thank you very much. We've got a very distinguished panel. I'm looking forward to learning from them. And I'm looking forward to... Actually, when I proposed this session to Access, I wanted it in the big fight format, right? You've seen the big fight on NDTV, right? And so I wanted it in that format, but unfortunately the timing, the place, it couldn't be arranged because I wanted people to take extremely different polar positions and argue it out. But then we'll still fight. We've already talked and we are going to play act our roles, right? So I just to give you a brief introduction, AI has phenomenal potential and it's done a lot in terms of enhancing inclusivity. If you look, there is chapter 9, I think, I'm not sure, I don't remember. Chapter 9 of the Inclusive Finance Report is on artificial intelligence and financial inclusion, has a number of use cases. So it's used for loan underwriting, it's used for alternative credit risk assessment, it's used in warehouse receipt financing with IoT's Internet of Things, right? It's used in chatbots, right? And it's used in a number of other applications. It's used in fraud detection, right? And very interestingly, we had this panel before lunch, which looked at frauds. So AI, in fact, the Reserve Bank of India has come up with a panel, has come up with a committee which is going to look into setting up a digital intelligence platform powered entirely by AI. This happened in July 2024. And so AI has applications. And so there are lots of applications of AI, lots of use cases of AI. Where there has been automation, where automation is required, AI is done well. But to give a perspective and set a context, where I see the problem with AI is it can't match human cognition, right? When you and I think of something, when I see Vipin Sharma walking in, then I start to think of access, right? So I'm able to relate. Now you go to any of the assistants, your Chat GPT, your Bard, no insults to anybody, yeah? They're all excellent. Chat GPT, Bard, which is now Gemini, your Copilot, all of that is excellent. But beyond a point, it will say, hey, Ramesh, I'm only an AI assistant. Only this much I can't do. I can't cross-reference. I can't do longitudinal thinking. I can't do causality. I don't know causality, right? So there are the other issues in AI, right? Ethics, the question of ethics, the question of bias, data in, data out. If good data goes in to train your AI, you have a great AI model. If you have representative data, you have a great AI model. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out. So the question of representativeness, the question of fairness, black box, that's the third most important thing. When underwriting decisions are made by AI, and as an applicant, I want to know why my loan has been rejected, explainable AI is now coming in because of that, right? So we're going to look at many of these issues. These are practitioners who have directly practiced or who have vicariously practiced. So they're going to share from their experiences. We've already prepped. We already have a set of questions, and we'll go around for each set of questions. We have 3 questions, 3 minutes, four of us, and that's 36 minutes, 4 minutes buffer, then open up to the audience if the MC gives us time, right? All right, we start. So we go with question number 1, effectiveness of AI today. How successful is AI in addressing barriers of financial inclusion, such as affordability and accessibility? What gaps remain in the current application of AI in financial services, especially for low-income people? Are current AI solutions designed for true inclusivity? And can it deliver on the promise to revolutionize financial services while reaching the last mile? So I'd like us to go. How would you like? We'd like to start from here or go from here?
From there,
Yeah. All right, Dinesh.
Thanks, Mr. Ramesh. Yeah. Once again, good afternoon. So when we talk about success, so I mean, I'll say that, and I'll say it very, very, bluntly, that when it comes to the financial inclusion landscape, it's still at a very, very premature stage in terms of the AI adoption, as compared to a lot of other, product segment. Like if you look at housing, if you look at insurance, or for that matter, a lot of retail lending segment. So I think why there are the gaps, I think from the perspective of the data biases. So the data maturity from the ultra poor segment, the data set or the models to train the AI platform itself is not at a mature level. So that is one big gap. And because of that, what is happening is that the products that we are trying to create, it's focused more on the scalability side of it and the profitability side of it, rather than looking at the inclusivity of the products. Because it needs to be localized, it needs to be regionalized, and even within the region, there are various segments. So unless and until the contribution from that data set is coming in, we cannot have a holistic platform for AI as far as financial inclusion is concerned. So that's a quick bit from my side.
Yeah, thank you. And I think firstly, I want to share that the operating rhythm of the world is changing, right? And it's pretty evident because we are all moving from an information age to an intelligence age with AI front and center to it. So I think AI has immense potential. It is comparable to electricity, and every business, every profession, every person on the planet will be impacted by it in one way or the other. So I'm an optimist to see that it will eventually be extremely effective. But I agree with both Ramesh and Vinish that we are at a very early stage. So think of it like a 5 test match series. We are on, first half of the first day of the first match. So there's a lot more to come. From my vantage point, we are really looking at the three things, two or three things. Number one, financial services, the BFSI sector is one of the most active seekers of AI adoption in their companies right now. When I look at the CEOs and practitioners that we interact with, they're very keen to know, because they're one sector which has a lot of data to begin with. So they're very keen to understand, how can I expand credit penetration in this country? There are a lot of POCs working on that front. How do you automate customer experience? There are companies who are running 7,000, 8,000 plus call center, base, and with both from support point of view and also from selling point of view, there is a large opportunity in talking to people in their language, and this whole the whole multi-model models actually enable a lot of cost optimization, and I think better customer experience is one area where we are seeing a lot of people already doing stuff, in a way increasing their profitability and also better customer experience. Third, personalized financial advice. The education is getting very personalized, and I think there's an opportunity there. Not too many aspects happening right now, but there's a lot of work happening in that aspect. So these are the initial successes right now. The second piece is but where are the gaps? The gaps is actually start with the data. Because most of these models have inherently less representation of low-income population, and there's no history, more and more models actually are less inclusive at this point in time. So hopefully there would be better inclusion going forward. And at the same time, in a country like India, everything is led by a smartphone, but there are a lot of people who need to be brought into the banking fold who may not be also smartphone users. So there is a gap even on that front to be taken care of. And the third vector, which something for us to focus on deeply, is that AI is not cheap. So there are a lot of companies who are making those first few steps on AI. They're all trying out POCs on the periphery, because and also optimizing at this time more for profitable growth and versus probably impact at this stage, right? Once you figure out that flywheel, and as costs keep coming down, right, these things will expand a lot more intentionally. And yeah, so that's my take on the AI effectiveness today, and very hopeful of it solving for inclusion in the long term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shruti?
Yeah, so there have been a lot of questions across time period, the effectiveness of data, the effectiveness of technology. So if you look at BFSI, or rather a bank's journey, somewhere in the 70s, everything was on paper. Eventually, a branch got computerized, and the data of a particular branch, say, a small branch in Mumbai, in Vile Parle, was on computer. Eventually, banks like HDFC Bank realized that it makes sense to, put all the data together across branches, and, they were the pioneers in multi-banking. So wherein, you could get data of a customer sitting in Delhi, in Mumbai. Eventually, we are moving to an age where now we are realizing that, all right, I have this data, but what about the intelligence from the data? So we have started to figure out that, okay, this customer is behaving in this way. So maybe the best product for this customer is, a credit card or a two-wheeler loan. What next? I mean, is AI useful? Is it effective? I believe yes, because, the next journey for a customer, right? When should I pay my card? Which is the next best product? Will I get a certain loan? These all can be answered with AI. There are a lot of people, who deserve and should get loans, especially in the microfinance segment. When we have a look, there are women borrowers, who need to move, who want to move and, have their own small business. So, there is a lot of, requirement for loans. There is a lot of requirement to crunch this data and, sort of give them the loans, and I think AI can only enable that. I do agree that there are a lot of impediments. For example, arranging the data in a certain way so that you get the right information out of that. Because, like you mentioned, Ramesh, and like my co-panelists are mentioning, if there's garbage, then it's garbage in, garbage out. Also, the cost, because AI is not cheap. It's an expensive, and with a country like India, where we have billions and billions of rows and columns, and we need to crunch that kind of a data, it becomes an expensive affair. So with those two, if those two controls are there on the radar, I think it's an effective solution for everyone. Thank you.
Before I say anything, Ramesh, I'm sure all of you are seeing that all of us have our notes. It's because our moderator gave us printouts and in a way nudged us to prepare for this conversation. So thank you so much for allowing us to put our thoughts together so that we can open some more threads for our audience here. Your question, Ramesh, is, and I'm just summarizing it, which is, what can AI do, or what is it doing to progress or to make progress towards financial
How
inclusion?
effective is it?
How effective is it? I see a couple of threads there, and I'll try and be cogent about what I'm saying. From the world of startups, we are predominantly seeing, and this is quite similar to what Bhaskar was also saying a little while ago, we're predominantly seeing more efficiency solutions. And those are the use cases that we are seeing around adoption of AI. And when I say efficiency-focused solutions, these include customer service, which is, hey, I could either have a call center, or can I at least solve a part of those queries through a chatbot, and can I have some version of a smart chatbot which can address some queries and so on, right? So those are some kind of efficiency-focused solutions, efficiency-focused use cases that we are seeing as deploying machine learning and to some extent AI as well. The larger question that I have with what you're asking is the second half of your question, which is financial inclusion. When we are asking this question about AI and what can it do to progress, how effective it is to advance financial inclusion, I'd like us to also abandon the broad brush that we use to define financial inclusion. Who is financial inclusion for? If we were to just look at that customer segment, it is not one customer segment. It is a composite, at best, of many, many customer segments that have different lives, that interact with different value chains, produce different kind of data. For some, it may be digitized. For some, it may not be digitized. And hence, where is the potential for AI to even make any kind of impact? And so, largely, there may be, at the moment, there is some efficiency value of AI integration. In the future, it could be more effectiveness solutions as well. But when we're talking in the realm of financial inclusion, we must also adopt a customer-first approach. We must think about who is it that we are building this for, and then approach the technology question later.
Very well. Thank you so much. I'll quickly summarize 3 key points and correct me if I'm wrong, or please add on. Number 1, data is very important. It's not easily available, or it is available and not ingestible in a form that AI needs it. Number 1. Number 2, it's costly, it's high cost, it's high resource intensive. That 3, we are at early days. We are like at the Virender Sehwag level, right? Opening the innings. So we are at early days, right? So this is on. And 4, where the gains you have seen is efficiency. I just want to call attention to just a couple of points on this question before we move to the next. I don't know how many of you were here for the SBI chairman's fireside chat yesterday. Yes. So he talked of YONO, right? Yeah, he talked of 4 clicks and the YONO. That's AI driven, right? That's AI driven. He talked of the YONO and the 4 clicks, and the 4 clicks giving the farmer the loan. That is AI. Now, EVA being used by HDFC Bank again is AI. So there are use cases. I urge you to read the chapter on the in the inclusive finance report. There are, but I agree with all of you. It's nascent. Data is difficult. But having said that, let me throw a provocative question to you. We've got 14. Yesterday, I think we discussed SHGs, and I also talked of it in my overview. We have 14.4 million SHGs. That's a lot of data. That's a lot of data on ordinary people. Today's AI doesn't require input. Large language models can ingest data in any form, right? You can go and upload onto any of those large language models and you can get out outputs. So there is data available. So we need that data, wherever it is, whatever language it is, it is something that can be potentially used. Number one. Number two, there are other use cases. So let's move to the next question using this point of data. Which AI-driven innovations will likely redefine financial inclusion in the next 5 years? How can emerging technologies like causality is very important. Causality is a very simple concept. It's not a complex word. We want to say A causes B. We say A doesn't go with B. So unless you're able to see, for example, for loan underwriting, if the data doesn't tell you that Ramesh is going to be delinquent or a defaulter, you will not lend to him. That is causality, right? So prediction depends on causality. So where do you see applications from your point of view, all of you, right? Okay. And Shruti, you wanted to make a point on the data, on the SHG?
Sure. So I'll give an example on this. About 2 years back, what happened is we were studying the affordable housing market, and specifically, when we were seeing the data, we were looking at one of the places called Surat, right? In Surat, what was happening was across the country, the housing market was doing well, Surat was not. Now, when you draw up a model and you look at correlation, to answer your question, you will get data points like income, EMI, location and delinquency to a certain extent as the most significant variables why there is a difference, and frankly, if you look at income versus EMI, the patterns are pretty similar for some other places as well. So now, as we got deep into this issue and we started talking to some of the lenders, we realized that the issue is with the migrant population. So there is a lot of population that comes into Surat for, the diamond polishing business. And then they move out, they buy a home, a small home, and then because it's not the place where they stay, they really don't care. And they don't pay up the loan. Now, this kind of a trend was unheard of, especially in a secured product like housing loan, where we see good repayment behavior. Now, to answer your question, the causality effect or the correlation effect. Now, this an AI model, it's difficult for the AI model to predict. And that's where human intervention and interaction comes in. Because if you look at it plainly from data, we have put in all the data sets. We have put everything available to us. You put in the macroeconomic factor. Surat was doing as well as any other district, right? It was one of the most growing districts of Gujarat. So frankly, it is not even the macroeconomic data. But somewhere, again, to answer your question, are humans required? And, are we going to be dead in the, in the AI era? The answer is no. We are required because there are certain causalities only humans can understand, data cannot. And that will always remain so, but it's a good help. I mean, we got to a point where we were able to narrow down and figure out some of the distinct areas where there are issues and, then dig deeper. So that's a short answer to the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Supriya, you wanted to make a point on the SHG data?
I was like aching to make a point.
I'm sorry. I skipped.
No. And in fact, my point was largely around the comment that you were making around SHGs and the number of SHGs and there being data and you can upload and, all of that machinery is available as of now. We were just in a roundtable where we heard from folks that work with SHGs is all of the data, not all, most of the data around the transaction within a group is entirely understanding based.
Sorry?
Understanding between the group members.
Right.
There may not even be a handwritten documentation, right? And that is, just one customer segment that we are talking about here. While, so many SHGs, I don't have the numbers in terms of the transaction volumes, available here, but massive volumes. We'd like to have access to this data, and there are fintechs, there are large companies looking to build digital products and then subsequently better algorithms to be able to serve this customer segment better. But I think we are still a couple of steps away from feeling confident that there is data that exists somewhere. Because, like you said, in fact, what Shruti is also saying, a lot of this is either in our heads or in our conversations and is not available on a physical, in a physical form. And hence, it is still two steps away from being called data, which, can then subsequently be used by models. So that's at least a quick response, not so quick response on your comment around the SHGs. To your question, and since I have the mic, I'm going to also answer the question that you posed. I'd really, for the Bharat segment, the low and middle income customer segment, I'd really like AI to push forward on fraud management. I'd really like it to push forward on customer protection because as of now, and I'm sure all of us here and all of us in this room get at least a call a day. Which says, oh, your parcel is stuck, oh, your son is arrested, or, this much money is broken, and, so on and so forth. That is a massive risk that the low-income customer segments are facing. I'd really like us to make progress from an AI vantage point towards better fraud management, towards better customer protection. The other point, which is, the future question that you're asking, is, we get a lot of startup pitches, when they apply to our programs and support. Nearly all pitches have a component, oh, we are applying AI. It's only when you dig deeper that you realize that it is, okay, at best, some regression, at best, some clustering of data, or at least a future plan of applying AI and so on. And in the world of startups, the words machine learning AI is colloquially called Malai. So if you have something to do with Malai, you're doing good.
Okay, thank you. Bhaskar, thank you, Supriya.
Thank you. And I think I agree with a lot of points made. I think generally when we speak to customers, there are two kinds of questions people keep asking. Right? What can AI do for me?
Right.
What can AI do? Right, is one question that keep asking. But AI can do a lot of things. But the real smart, progressive customers ask the question, hey, this is my strategy. What can AI do to enable my strategy? Right? I think where we see a lot of innovation actually happening is in solving for use cases. If somebody wants to hyper-personalize insurance opportunities, right, for different segments. Today, there is almost like commodification of what insurances are offering, commodification of what mutual funds are offering. There's a sea of sameness everywhere. But your risk profile is very different from my risk profile. It can't be high, medium, low, right? There could be different aspects to it. So what causes certain behaviors, right? And hence, what do I can offer you uniquely? Hyper-personalization is something which is happening in advertising already. Can it come to products thanks to AI is something that I really bet on. Predictive analytics to actually which can prevent financial fraud. In fact, I was at CES early this year, and at NASDAQ is really deploying a lot of AI to understand some of these behaviors, right? So that to keep it away from bad actors and some of even financial fraud potentials. and also whether it is micro lending, micro insurance aspects. So these are all. Can people do it today? Yes. Can people do it profitably? No. So can AI reduce the cost of delivery of these services and keep them profitable and give it to those who need it, who may not have the right data backing them today? These are the opportunities that I think AI can potentially enable. And causality, a lot has already been discussed, but it can be a game changer in that context.
Finish. We had to go that way and come back this way, right?
It's
What
perfectly
goes
fine.
in always comes
Of
back.
course comes
Please.
back, yeah. So quickly, so you have got like two part of the questions, right? So the first is that what do we see in the next few years, right? So I'll say 4 use case, I think, which already been covered. So, but just to quickly consolidate, so maybe one is on the customer onboarding. So definitely using the alternate data. What was not possible if we will look at like 5 years back. So I'll always take this example of chai wala. I'm pretty sure we all love chai wala, right? So we are not talking about the chai wala, but generally chai wala. So till about few years back, if the guy doesn't have a credit history, it was difficult to get a loan, right? Today, with India Stack coming in, with the UPI, with everything else, we can understand the sales, we can understand everything. We can actually reach to certain level of using alternate data, right? So and it's going to mature further and further. So that's one. Second one is when we talk about personalization of the product, that's going to evolve, which I think my colleague has already covered. Then the next one is on the fraud detection. So fraud detection, both from a detection and prevention perspective, and then continuously monitoring. So these are the 3 main areas, and then the 4th one is early warning. Using a lot of regional and local data, right? So these are the 4 areas where we are seeing evolution happening in the next few years. Now coming to the causality side of it, right? So what we already discussed is right now it's at a very, very surface level, and it's largely based on the correlation rather than looking at the cause and effect, right? So what we really need is you cannot have the same product for a flood-prone area in southern India compared to a drought area in western side of India, right? So we need to localize the product. Similarly, the policies also needs to be localized. We cannot have the same pricing policy. We cannot have the same, handling towards the indebtedness, which we all are seeing what's happening right now. So it cannot be the same, right? So the AI utilization is going to evolve more towards in those areas, and it's going to be hyper-personalized.
Okay, great. Now, I just quickly summarize. It talked of customer protection, fraud detection, personalization of products, and moving more to marginalized people. And I just want to give you one idea of where it's got a lot of potential. 2 points stand out in that all of you made. The goal is financial inclusion. The strategy is AI.
Exactly.
Let's not make AI the goal.
Exactly.
We will fall. If we make AI the goal, we'll fall. The goal is financial inclusion. The strategy is AI. If we lose sight of the goal, and if our strategy becomes the goal, then we are finished. Right? So I think that's where it's most important. Most organizations, I advise a lot of organizations transforming. Just to share one application happening in Bihar, happening in rural Bihar and in Odisha, aquaculture, biomass estimation is happening with AI and satellite-led combination to estimates. Imagine what happens. You're a small and marginal farmer with a half an acre. And if the banker can get to know how much of biomass is underwater, he or she will be able to personalize that product to you. He or she will be able to rate you better, and all of that can happen. So that's the future. Anyway, we've got 4 minutes. I just want to ask one. Before we get thrown out, we should walk away. On that count, I'm just saying we've got 4 minutes. So I will go across to all of you with one question. Also, in your final comments, address the issue of ethics, representativeness, right? And bias, right? All of you. So we'll start at the center now. We'll start with Bhaskar, Shruti, then Supriya, and then Vinish. Okay, last Vinish. You have the last word.
Yeah. No, I think while a lot of people talk about AI, I think very few talk about responsible AI, and hence ethics is should be integral part of whatever we do. I think as a company, Google has always built products for everyone, and that philosophy extends even into everything that we are building around AI, and also everything that we are doing with in the financial inclusion space with some of our popular products like Google Pay. It basically offers users transparency and choice, and I think and we are actually seeing a lot more cross-functional teams coming up to kind of define some of these parameters, and then they are actually evolving as we speak. Regulation is evolving, and so is technology. So striking that right balance, I think, is critical to balance innovation in this field.
Sure. Thanks. Shruti?
No, I agree with Bhaskar that, striking the balance is important. If we have customer at the center and, that is going to be our sacrosanct, then I think we will not deviate from the goal. Having said that, we know that there are business interests, etc., where, the, dual usually comes in. At Equifax, what we ensure is that the customer is at the center, and we ensure that everything is, driven with the customer interest. So with that being said, and if that the interest of the customer always remains sacrosanct, I feel ethics would not be an issue for any organization.
Great. Thanks, Shruti.
I'll make it very, very quick, Ramesh, and I will not repeat but I'll second everything that both Bhaskar and Shruti have said. Thankfully, there's increasing data, increasing data sets that are getting created, but predominantly, they continue to be gender blind. To start with, the issues of bias, are the first place that you see them is you run a model. Does it apply to women? I'm not sure. So the first, at least piece I'd like us to solve for as an industry is gender disaggregated data sets, so that whatever we build, whatever we run on top of these data sets, at least services both men and women well.
Thank you, Supriya. That's Vinish.
So coming to the ethics part of it. So if we look at it, on one side we all understand that we don't have the data sets available, but at the same point of time, we also need to be very, very cautious in terms of how that data is being collected. Yeah. So there's a poor woman who wants loan, and and you can take whatever consent you want at that point of time, right? So is it falling under the consent taken under duress? Is there a regulatory framework around it? If no, that how we can, actually have the support from the regulators to have the right data privacy framework available. At the same point of time, how we can collaborate. So there's credit bureau, there's tech companies, there's government agencies, there are private players. There are large players like Google, so how do we collaborate together, come up with a model or come up with a, set or the framework to say that which can be actually adoptable, and it can actually going to solve the bottom to bottom of the pyramid, So that's where, I see that the collaboration happening and the regulatory approach is highly required.
Thank you. Just make some final comments. Thank you all. That was brilliant. Wonderful. Just want to say two things. One, conversational AI, conversation-driven AI in local vernacular is getting popular. That's going to take away digital and process literacy. That's going to enable digital and process literacy on the go. Number one, right? So that's one. Two, we have large amounts of data in India, right? And we have large amounts of data. I've heard Vipin often talk about FPOs. FPOs have data. Your cooperatives have data. You have your collectives have data. Your SHGs have data. There's a lot of data available. This data needs to be cleaned, normalized, standardized, and used, right? And then Supriya also mentioned gender disaggregated data. We need that. It's not even available in the RBI trend and progress report. No, so I am some portions are available, but complete data is not there. So I think this data is available. I think now we need a conscious drive from the top to generate the right kind of data which can be used for AI. And you need what is called as explainable AI. AI must be accountable. On that count, I'd like to say AI promises a lot, and let's look forward to. And AI, I want to close saying this: AI alone or human alone will not work. AI plus human is a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. AI is always improving.
Thank you so much, esteemed panelists and the esteemed moderator. May I request you to please join us front and center for a photo op. And we would like to present a token to all of you as a appreciation and thanks. As you go down the stage, please do collect your token. So with that, we conclude this session here, which spoke about AI in financial inclusion.